Hello, everyone. I am Camille Miller, and thank you for joining us for our masterclass on leveraging an executive assistant to help you, I don't have it in front of me, but to help you with your work and life and play and everything else. Ryan Razel is our guest speaker today. And Ryan, I'm going to let you tell our audience who you are and why we chose you to talk about this.
Yeah.
And then we can jump in.
There's a little bit of echo. I'm not really sure. Okay, I can hear it's good now. Okay, cool. So Camille and I have been working together for a while now, and I started, how do I even frame this? 10 years ago, basically, I started working with people overseas. So I lived in the Philippines for a while, and I've traveled all over the world, and the thing that I noticed when I was living in the Philippines was that there was this common, number one, I was over there training teams to support this like multi-million-dollar big corporation. And I was training teams to basically support our US operations over there, like high level people. They were doing like database stuff and like very complicated operational systems level stuff. And I realized that this preconception that a lot of people had in the US about international employees and international workers was totally wrong. I mean, the people that I was meeting were so incredibly smart and so incredibly gifted and friendly and hardworking. And so that had been on my mind after I went through that experience. It had been on my mind for years. And I have maintained a lot of like connections and contacts with the people that I worked with. And so fast forward a few years to 2 or 3 years ago, I started hearing stories from my other entrepreneur friends, other CEOs that I'm in networks with and stuff like that. And they're like, how do you have this executive assistant and how do you work with these people? Like, I can't figure it out. I don't exactly know how this works. And so this business was kind of just born out of a need to help people. A lot of our clients and customers are people that I know. I'm very integrated into the entrepreneurship community all across the US. And like, these are people that I know closely, and many of our clients are friends of friends and things like that. And so, this business really started out of a growing need to just help people get more time back to be able to spend time with their family and their kids and scale their businesses and just like have more fun. I actually have the number of hours in the average human life like tattooed on my chest. So this is something that's been near and dear to me literally for a long time. There's someone that I actually heard a quote yesterday, and someone said, money comes and goes, but time just goes. And it's interesting that like, this is a way, what we do is we provide executive assistant services to mostly like founders and CEOs of like 7 and 8 figure businesses. A lot of times, we're there with people in the early stage as well. But that's our main focus. We provide the executive assistants, like vetted, high quality people that also are committed and they want to stay around, and they're custom paired for who you are and what your business needs are. So that's kind of like the overarching theme of what we do. And what I wanted to do today was kind of walk through some of the things that we've learned over the last 10 years and what I've learned in my experience with my executive assistants. And I also brought some of my team members on as well to kind of just speak about their experience and what they know. And my goal by the end of this call is that you guys have a better idea of not necessarily working with us or anything like that, but like, I'm going to give you all of I'm going to give you everything that I know, and then you can do with it what you will. So starting with like, do you even need an executive assistant? Or do you, should you consider, hiring, like Camille and I were talking about earlier, just hiring somebody to help you with certain small projects from time to time? So do you need an executive assistant? And if so, like what do you want to look for in that person? How do you craft that role? What does that ideal person look like for you? What's interesting is a lot of people that come to us, they think they need one thing, but we actually know from experience that they need something else. And so I'll kind of teach you a little bit about that. One particular fun section that we'll focus on is like what to delegate. I think a lot of people that come to us, especially people that are early in their career or their entrepreneurship career, they don't exactly know what they can have some help with. Whether that's because they're not used to asking things of someone, or maybe they don't have a very big team, so they're, and I want to explain the types of things that you can get help with, and then we'll get into some of the logistics, like the systems of how you get support and what project management tools might be good. So yeah, I've got a whole host of topics we can go through, and hopefully this will be helpful for everybody. And I would love for this to be, for those of you who want to interact or ask questions or whatever. Obviously, I'm going to do some Q&A at the end, but I would love to make this, interactive. Like as things come up, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask questions, either of me or of my team, which I'll introduce here in a minute. But this is an opportunity for everybody to learn, because this is a topic that is, I always say it's a very sticky topic, meaning like once people find out about like what it's like to have a good executive assistant, it spreads like wildfire. And that's how our business has kind of grown. It's like when you've got somebody who is so good that they're helping you with like scaling your business and like all the things that rob you of your peace of mind and all the things that take up all of your time, when you've got somebody who can really help you do that stuff and it feels kind of effortless, people tend to tell other people. And so this is a fun topic for me to talk about. This is like a very fun business for me. So yeah, I want this to be interactive. Obviously, I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions if they come up. And so first thing I want to do is I want to introduce my team. And I asked a couple people on my team. We've got 25, 30 people on our team that are helping with various different clients that we work with. And so I asked if anybody wanted to be on this discussion today, and a couple of people volunteered. And so we have Camille, Jesse, and Anne. Camille, where are you, Camille? I'm looking here on the thing. There you are. Yeah. So I'll give you guys a quick just backgrounds of each of them. That way you kind of understand what their situation is. And they're all very unique. And I have different relationships with each one of them. Camille is someone that has been with us for a long time. She is definitely someone who is outstanding on our team in terms of her work ethic and her abilities. And she's super creative, and she's got an awesome life outside of work too, which is something that we look for with everybody that we hire. And yeah, Camille is somebody that is genuinely caring, and that comes out in the quality of her work. And I really appreciate you a lot, Camille. You're always fun to talk to, and to be able to work with you is really I'm grateful for that. But yeah, Camille too.
Those of you in our group know that Camille works with us in our group. She's our community concierge. Yeah.
And so Camille's really awesome. And then obviously I have my executive assistant on the call as well, Jesse. Jesse, I don't know where you're at, but Jesse is somebody who's incredibly, like, she's super humble. She's not the most outspoken person. Like, she's not going to be like, yelling from the rooftops about her skills and everything, but she's just such a ninja. And every experience that I've had with you has been magic. Like, there's things that you'll pick up on where I'm like, how do you even know about that? Like, so I love, Jessie is like awesome. I really, really love working with her. And then Anne is actually someone that we have started working with more recently, like in the last few months. And she is working with a client right now who is a 3-person team. So she's got 3 CEOs that are all working under one umbrella, and she's been handling it really well. She's super detail oriented. She has a lot of great tips to, she's like, she will actually step up in our community of other executive assistants and share her, she's actually going to be leading a training and things like that. So she's someone who she's really knowledgeable, and I hope that we can share some stuff with you today from her perspective also. So yeah, those are some people from my team. And like I said, we're going to cover a bunch of different topics today. So if you guys have questions, just start raising your hand, or like, I can't see you all the time. I can't see all of you. So what's the best way, Camille, if someone has something?
Yeah, I'll watch the people and I'll watch the chat too. So if anyone just doesn't want to speak, you won't be on camera. So if you can put something in chat, or you can just raise your hands, or you can go like this, and I'll try to watch everything. But I'll add that I met Ryan through another CEO that I'm in a brainstorming thing with 7-figure entrepreneurs, and that's how I got to know you. And I spoke to you at the early in the year, and it took me probably 4 or 5 months to actually make the move, because I had to make some mistakes along the way. But I think hiring an assistant and help is so important to scaling your business, is so you can start to step out of it and stay in your lane of joy. That's what I keep telling everybody, is you got to stay in your lane of joy and stay where it makes you money, and hire other people who excel in other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And what's really cool about that is, like, it's one thing to say that, and then I can speak from experience. We have worked with like well over 100 different, and I've worked with different CEOs. Like I did consulting back in the day, and of all of the work that I have done, and I'm actually a little bit about my background. I'm a systems engineer by trade, so I love systems. I love solving high level complex problems using technology and automation and process and stuff like that. And so of all the things that I've done in the last 10 years in systems and everything, the single most like highest leverage activity that I've seen is someone having an executive assistant. Because if you consider, a lot of the people that are coming to us are people like you guys. They're CEOs and business owners that you have an incredible amount of knowledge in your particular field, and your time is so incredibly leveraged. And so the only thing is figuring out how to get back your time.
Yeah.
Like,
so
nothing else.
Yeah. So I want to add that in the mastermind, the people that I speak with, the number one thing that we talk about is hiring people, because it's so hard to get skilled quality people, and you go through a lot of people trying to find the right fit. You are awesome, and your team just finding that fit for us, which was awesome, and getting that. And the other thing that we're taught in our mastermind is 45% of your time should be towards creating a perfect team so you can keep growing. And that was mind blowing to me. I was like, 45% of my time should be in my team, and just making sure, not doing the work, but teaching them to be better. And I was like, that changes everything. So why don't you start with everyone else about those first steps? Because I know that was probably the hardest for me, of saying, okay, what do I give away? At what point do I know it's time? Because I was doing a lot of project work and giving away like pieces of it, like going to Upwork and getting someone to do my videos, or to my podcast, or throw things on. And Camille does all of that for us now. So when do you think it's I don't know, the brain map or whatever, to saying, yeah, it's time, I got to take this step?
Yeah. There's a couple of different ways to think about it. I mean, I still have, so our core focus as a company is just exclusively on executive assistance, which includes like the admin stuff, back office, a little bit of operations, even some recruiting, but mostly like administrative type tasks on the business and the personal side. So no matter what, even if you hire an executive assistant, there may still be things that you need to hire a specialist for, whether that be, you're lucky because Camille has someone who has so many of those like specialist skill sets as well.
Yeah.
But there will still be, even me, like I have to hire, people that have web development experience and stuff like that. So the thing that I want to say before anything is like, you're just like what you and I have talked about before, Camille, like the person that you hire, they have oftentimes something that they're really good at, and you want to get them doing nothing but that. So how do you know if you're ready for someone like an executive assistant, at least? I think part of it, some people aren't ready. Some people, they want to, it's a financial thing, number one, like it's a financial thing. It's also like, do you have the time to invest to bring somebody into your business? When I'm talking with someone and we're kind of pre-qualifying them to try to figure out, is this person going to be successful with us or not? I look at, honestly, a lot of this is like personality stuff. It's like, where are you at in your growth journey? I don't know how deep you guys get into this stuff in your masterminds, but like, the people that aren't necessarily successful with us, the people that I would choose maybe not to work with, or give them other, like refer them out to other sources and things like that, would be like, if you've got control issues, if you think that the only way to get something done is by you going to go do it. It's going to be really hard if you bring an executive assistant in, if you can't give them that freedom to go and actually like support you. So that's one thing. I think like part of what we do is, as long as people come to us and they are good people, meaning you know how to communicate, you're kind, you're caring, you're grateful, you know how to give feedback, you know how to like work with someone on your team, the other stuff can be learned. So I think the answer to that question, Camille, is like, I don't think it's super clear cut. It's kind of different for everybody, but financially, are you ready to take on the decision? That's the first thing. And then, do you have the skills and the willingness to build a team? Like, that's another one. If you find yourself, I'm kind of just brainstorming right now, but if you find yourself working for a large majority of the week on tasks that aren't your highest leverage activity. So when I'm working with someone and we're trying to determine what we want to take off their plate, we first want to understand, what are you really good at and what do you really love to do? So it's the intersection of what you're passionate about and proficient at. That is that's where you need to be spending all of your time. And so what we find is, I'll start asking people, all right, what are you really good at, but you aren't particularly passionate about, right? Or what are you really passionate about, but not really good at? And then on the flip side, what are you not good at and not passionate about? All three of those categories are, if you start noticing that you're spending a lot of your time in those sections, that's when you need to say to yourself, like, it's time to get an executive assistant or somebody that can support me with that stuff, because they're not going to be the best use of your time. And usually those types of tasks and responsibilities will manifest themselves. I'm sure you guys have dealt with this before, where it's like something you've had on the bottom of your to-do list that just stays there for like weeks, oh, create this thing or do this thing, or like get in touch with so-and-so. And if you find yourself seeing a lot of those examples, I think it's time to look at how you can bring somebody else in to support. Yeah. So what you'll find is that if you have the right person, it starts to just feel like magic, where you're doing everything in your zone of genius and they're doing everything in their zone of genius, because they're really, that's how we deal with pairing, is we bring you people who are doing the things that they love, which are inversely the things that you don't love. Yeah. So that would be like, that's my summarized version.
Yeah. I think it's also organizing, right? Or, doing the tasks that happen all the time, organizing. For me, I started to just keep a list at the side of my computer for me to realize how much I did that I didn't need to be doing, right? That it didn't make a difference if it was me or somebody else. And I just started to keep a little list, and then realizing, wow, I can take all of this and move it off to somebody else. little by little. It gets easier. Even such for people that are watching, making appointments. Like if you're going back and forth with people, right, to make appointments, it's, you know, that's a waste of time. It's the little things, the follow-up calls, the, hey, order me this, or go over here and do this, or, you know, set up an email sequence, or post on social media, things like that.
Let me ask something. I don't know if anybody wants to speak up, but like, where is everybody at in their level of like, has anybody here worked with an EA or anyone like virtual before? Maybe you could even, okay, so no. Okay, couple of no's. So I think that, so that helps me to have some perspective, at least for this conversation. And maybe while we're talking, maybe you guys can place in the chat like why you haven't, what has been, you know, your hesitations, or why hasn't that been something that you've taken a look at? Maybe you just haven't had the information, but maybe, you know, if I can see some of those answers, I'm happy to address them too. But usually
something, Brian, this is Michelle.
Hey, Michelle.
About 2 years ago, I met someone who I hired that was to help me with social media. I'm not great at social media, just let me put it that way. I think it's age related, but so I basically let her take it over, and she did a fabulous job. She's very artistic. I'm an artist. She's an artist too, and so it was great, and I got a lot of other extra attention, you know, to what I do. I play Tibetan singing bowls, and
oh, that's cool.
Best. So and she would just create these wonderful things, and she got me an account on Instagram, and then she got a job teaching, and she left. So I actually now have she's come back, and I'm able to pay her a little more. The biggest issue I have is I'm not sure what she's done or not done and things like that. So I mean, I don't know if you call her a virtual assistant or not, but and I don't know if these are things that anyone else has had issues with, but if you could, you know, because I was trying to weigh, would someone like a Camille or a Jessie be doing this anyway? I just wanted to bring that up, and maybe you can address some of the things that I've talked about.
It's funny because that's first of all, I love Tibetan singing bowls. Those things are so much fun. When I learned how to go around the bowl and then how to go, it's incredible. So when we have breath work workshops and stuff like that, people will bring them. It's really cool. So I actually hear that exact same story a lot. I'll talk with people who are like, yeah, my nephew has come onto my team, and she's just, you know, she's going to college next year, and but she was helping with social media, and it was great. But now, you know, I hear that story all the time. And I think if you look at the big picture, whoever it is that you're working with, if they were doing what they were passionate about and proficient at, and like that, you know, the type of people you want to work with are those that are super aligned with being an executive assistant. It's just like being a plumber or a roofer or any other skilled trade. It's something that they like dedicate their lives to. And they may have other interests outside of that, but that's their core thing. Whereas like a lot of people I talk to, they're working with people who have the ability to do social media and all that stuff, but like their ultimate goal is to go to college or to do something different. And so like a lot of my team, they've already been to college. They've already been to like, they wanted to make a career being able to work virtually and supporting business owners. And that's what their passion is. And so my answer to that, or the solution to that, is find someone whose end goal is what you're needing. I think that's something helpful.
We're with you.
Yeah. So one of the things I was going to bring up, say that again, Camille.
I was going to read something in the chat, but go ahead, finish.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm looking here. It says, I'm anything but a systems engineer. Oh, I work with consultants in person, not fully virtual. Okay. I'm hesitant about making an investment and not having a payoff. Honestly, training someone who doesn't end up working would be disappointing, but I understand Ryan's a great matchmaker. Yeah. And that does happen. It does happen. Like there is no, at the end of the day, when you're working with people, it's not as like, I'm not perfect. When I was building my team at our company, you learn, and we had people that I had on my internal team that didn't work out. And it was usually, if I look back, it's because they weren't aligned. Like their gift, Camille, you and I talk about this all the time, the thing that they're really good at wasn't what I had them doing, right? And so over the years, we've really learned how to find alignment with, like what do our clients need? What are they good at? What are they not good at? And then how do we fill that gap? And how do we find somebody who really, really loves to do the things they don't love to do? That's going to be the biggest indicator that your investment will hopefully, you're not going to have to be getting somebody new all the time. But yeah, training someone who doesn't end up working would be disappointing. I totally understand that. The way that we try to mitigate that, at least with our clients, is we look at we give you, a decade of experience and share it with you when you work with us. It's kind of like, hey, if anyone ever has questions, it's like, okay, this is how I would do it. This is the tool you use. And we have weekly sessions with our clients too. And it's like, all right, what are you wanting to get off your plate? Okay, how do you currently do it? How do you want it to be done? Does this, maybe this needs to be automated. This needs to be handed to your assistant. This needs to be documented and processed. There are people who know about delegation best practices, which really helps to make sure that your investment does pay off. So yeah, I mean, but that's a very rational fear, of course. And I think most of the people that end up, like I talk to people several times a week that come to us and like, yeah, I was working with this company and like, I had this person on for 3 months and like, it just didn't work out. And I'm a little bit, you can tell like when they're gun shy. And even Camille and I have had conversations before in the past about she's worked with other people and it's not been a fun experience. And so yeah, I totally get that. There are plenty of like systematic ways around it. That's my background as a systems engineer. I look at what are the common problems that exist in a virtual relationship. That would be a couple of them I can name would be like availability, right? When is your person available? Communication, personality, the client not knowing what to delegate or how to delegate, the quality of work, the lack of systems or processes, people who don't have a sustainable business, and then just like attrition, like Michelle, what you mentioned earlier, people like just attrition, like losing the person, right? So we figured out we started asking ourselves as a company, how can we systematically prevent these things from happening? So what I want to, if anybody else has dealt with some of those issues that I just listed off, if anybody else has dealt with those, feel free to like put it in the chat or bring it up and I can address them. But I think we'll start from the top here. So like for availability, right? That's a common thing. Like I know a lot of people have worked with virtual staff before that work on opposite time schedules. So you're working with somebody who's working during their daytime, and then it's like you're handing off work, and then it doesn't get to you until the morning time, and there's just this weird disconnect, and it doesn't feel like you truly have a partner. All of our staff, they choose to work during your time zone. So Camille works during EST time zone alongside Camille, right? My assistant, same thing, works alongside, like as a partner, just as you and I would. So availability, that marks that one off the list, right? And that's no longer an issue.
Can I say,
second?
Can I jump in? Just because I've had two different experiences and I see something on the chat that also is coming up. I've worked with people different time zones and it has worked too.
Yeah.
So it could work for you because we have copywriters.
That's true.
In Armenia. We had my digital person was in Poland, like because we're a global business, we started to do it. The idea of having a VA and not someone like virtual, but not there in their vicinity, I think is hard for people. And a couple of people have just mentioned trying out people and it hasn't worked and they spent a lot of money. And I just want to put out there, I've done exactly the same thing. A lot of people have, because I was trying to match me, or I was listening to what they were saying and it really wasn't true. Once I hired them, I went through a lot of people trying to match. And that's why I actually finally used Ryan, who did match perfectly, because he could see things that I didn't probably see in myself or know how to match, or, plus you already had people, but that made it a little easier. So, because I see people saying that sometimes for any position, not just your BA, sometimes you just hire the wrong person. It is very, very, very difficult to find great staff, I think, right now. So that's why I chose to use Ryan, because when I told my mastermind that I was having trouble, that's what they did. He was trying to. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
So Larissa, you're saying you had two unpleasant experiences. The way, and I was going to get into this a little bit later, just around like hiring and how to like address hiring and stuff like that. We have a very robust testing process. So we have initial screenings that lead to like multi-hour testing, which leads to an evaluation, which leads to final interviews, which leads to, like we build biographies on each candidate. So like there's a multi-step process. And that is ultimately what, like the people who aren't high quality don't get through that process. And so, it's that's how you do it. And so if you had those unpleasant experiences, I think practically the way that if you guys, like, as you go out and try to hire people yourselves, I would really focus on coming up with like, what is it that you want someone to help you with? Figure out how you can design a test for that. So if you want to have, just a dumb example here, but if you're wanting to have somebody help you write some copy for a newsletter, or let's say you're wanting to have someone help you manage your calendar, come up with a test for both of those cases, right? You take 3 people that look like they're particularly interesting to you that have come through your job ad, and you say, okay, this is the test. All 3 of you guys, I want you to, I'm going to send you, here's an example you could do, like send someone 5 sample emails and have them respond back. If they were the executive assistant, how would they respond? Like if you're doing an appointment setting, or, working on like a customer service type email, whatever it is, whatever your use case is, testing is the most important way to see if somebody is going to work out or not. You can't just, and I did this in the very beginning, like you can't just be like, oh yeah, that person's got a great attitude, or they're friendly, or they have good English, or whatever it is. That's not enough. You have to test. And so that's I think that's the primary thing to like keep in mind, is that testing is super important. And I'll share some of those with you guys here in just a second, about like some different testing processes you can go through. We talked about availability being like one of the common challenges that people deal with. Communication. So communication is the most important thing. I run into a lot of executives that have come to me in the past, and they share with me their stories and stuff like that. And 99% of people's experience with, like, if you've got a good executive assistant and it didn't work out, it's because of communication. It's like either you weren't there in the beginning to communicate with them, to, it really effectively communicate what it is that you're looking to have done and how and stuff like that. Like communication is super important. We have a very strict process for communication. Like everybody that we hire, that's one of our core values. And so we have beginning and end of day reports that are sent out every day with, and I can actually, I don't know if I can share my screen with you guys, but the beginning and end of day reports are, it's like, okay, what were your tasks for the day, right? What was my biggest priority for the day? This is all at the beginning. So here's what I'm working on. Here's my biggest priorities. These are important emails that need your attention. These are important events for the day today, like birthdays, anniversaries, financial reminders, and credit card statements and stuff that need to be sent out, or whatever it is. Any roadblocks that they may be encountering, anything that's keeping them from making progress, what they need from you as the CEO, and then any opportunities that they see for you as CEO. And we call that like making customer magic. So it's those things like I told you about Jesse earlier. Those things that are like, Hey, I noticed that Halloween's coming up. Like, have you bought a costume yet? Do you need my help finding something? Whatever that is. So we love to find ways to create magic. So that's like what an example of a beginning of day report would look like. And our assistants put those together. I might be able to share this template with Camille so you guys can use it if you hire an executive assistant.
I just let you share your screen if you want it.
Yeah. I'll post it real fast. So yeah, if you look at, can you guys see my screen here?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is an example of a way that you can, it's like a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, yeah, I don't really know how to do this and this. I don't know how to get my assistant to do this or this. It's like, give them something like this that very clearly spells out exactly what you're looking for. At the beginning of the day, I want to know these 5 things, right? At the end of the day, I want to know what's been accomplished for the day. What are any remaining tasks that are going to be done tomorrow? What are any important events that I need to know about? Status updates. So if you have a framework for, a lot of people don't find success when working with virtual staff if they don't have a framework to use. And that's something that we provide. That's something that I'm happy to help with. Like, any of you can, I'm sure Camille can give my email out. Any of you can reach out with any questions. I don't care if you work with us or not. Like, this is something that I'm super passionate about. And if you just want to understand, how you can, how you can delegate something, if you've got something that's kind of a weird use case, like, come to me, and I'm happy to share any information that I have. So that's how we manage communication. That was one of the biggest challenges. And then if you look at, let's see, what are some other important ones? If you look at, where is that? I just lost my screen here. Where did it go? Here we are. Yeah, so availability, communication, and then personality. So the person that you hire should be like someone that you're going to be with them every day. So you kind of want to make sure that they have like Camille is just like, I don't know what she drinks in the morning, but she's always friendly. She's always excited. She always has a smile on her face. And I love that. Same thing with Jesse. Like that, I think the person that you hired, like, make sure that their personality matches someone that you're gonna be talking to them all the time. Not knowing what to delegate or how to delegate, I'm gonna explain that to you guys. So that's something that, like, at least for our clients, I will walk through with them. Like, all right, what is it that you're trying to delegate? Like what, and then show them how to do it. Quality of EA work, that's something that comes in when you go through testing and you give someone proper tests, you can kind of, you can see what the quality of their work is. Lack of systems or processes for delegating tasks. These are such simple things. Like, that is just a matter of having a project management tool that your assistant uses. And I'm going to show you guys what I personally use, so you can see how that can be done. And then a non-sustainable business, that, that's one of the core challenges too. Like, if your business is something that is not necessarily like able to scale or ready to scale, that can oftentimes be, no matter who you bring in, there may be other things that need to be adjusted before you can, effectively be supported by an executive assistant. And then as far as the last point, like attrition, some of you may have worked with virtual staff before, and then like 3 or 4 months go by and they're not with you anymore, or they've got something else that they're doing. That's why we focus so much on finding people that really love to be executive assistants. And then we take the time to, regularly meet with them and build team and build community and all that stuff. And like, that's really important for making sure that someone is excited about what they do. And like, if you, on the other end, if you were like an executive assistant and you were just taking tasks every day and like there wasn't any communication, there was no relationship, you may not want to be there after 4 months too. So I think like what we really emphasize with our our EA client relationships is actually taking time to get to know each other, building a relationship, exchanging ideas, feeling like there's equality. So that's those are some of the core challenges. I'll share with you guys how you can overcome some of those. I wanted to give you a quick like teaser, I guess, in terms of some of the things that an executive assistant can help you with, because some of you may have had questions about what can actually be done. So we break this down into a couple of different categories: health, relationships, recreation, and business. A lot of you, is anybody here interested in an executive assistant, whether you hire on your own or work with somebody, like for personal reasons? I know, Camille, you mentioned like setting appointments and stuff like that. I don't know, does anybody have interest on the personal side, like getting personal support? Maybe so. Maybe so. I think a lot of people are here for the business side of things, and I'll definitely cover that. So when it comes to health, we help people with things like meal planning, ordering meals, groceries, scheduling doctor's appointments, finding and booking trainers, scheduling time for your health, gym stuff, creating space to meditate. And it's interesting, you wouldn't think, like, obviously I know it's easy for me to go into my calendar and, book time to go to the gym or whatever it is. But when you have an executive assistant, you've got somebody else there that's kind of holding you accountable in some way. It has an incredible, and like, we didn't create the business to have this impact, but it, oddly enough, like, we found that having an executive assistant, people use them sort of to hold them accountable, because you have somebody else there who's saying, hey, like, I did this thing for you. Like, did you follow up on it? Or, whatever it is. And I have one client who has his assistant every morning send a random number between 1 and 5, and like, that's how many miles he runs that day. So there's like very interesting things that you can do with that kind of stuff. So on the personal side, that's one, health. And then with relationships, I know that you guys, like, we all know that relationships are the most important thing, especially in business. So your assistant can help support you with sending out birthday or anniversary reminders, sending out cards, planning dates and events. Looks like somebody else is trying to join in. There we go. Yeah, planning dates and events, helping, this is a big one, but like helping manage your travel. So arranging hotel, car, taxi, flights, all according to your preferences. That's huge. I mean, that's probably 50% of our clientele uses that service alone, just to not have to spend all that time. A lot of people love to think that their travel preferences are something that like nobody could ever replicate, but then I go and ask them some simple questions. They're like, oh yeah, I guess that is how I do it. And I'll share with you guys a resource at the end here, which is a preference center, where we gather all of the things that make you you, so that your assistant can effectively replicate that when they're booking travel for you, when they're helping you with relationship stuff. So I'll share that resource with you guys at the end. What else with relationships can they help with? They can help with just like keeping in touch with business contacts. I know that a lot of you guys probably have done business with people that would do business with you again, but you're just not staying in touch with them. That's something that an assistant can help with. If you give them a system and you say, hey, I have these 500 people in an email inbox. I want you to go through and find the people from 6 months, that are 6 months or older, and I want you to send them all a personalized message and say, hey, Jim, how you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while. How are the kids? Blah, 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 blah. You send out, some of those emails, like a couple hundred emails or whatever, and your business may look entirely different than it did 2 weeks ago, right? So there's all these little things you can do if you've got somebody to help you that have a massive impact. So yeah, there's that. And then personal social media presence, posting on social media, just having someone to, maybe they're pulling interesting articles and then posting them on your personal social media or something like that. Inbox management. So just going through your inbox and making sure that the people you're in relationship with, maybe the requirement is we have a 24-hour response time. So everybody that emails you, regardless of if that person needs an answer now or a week from now, it's like, hey, I got your message. I'm super busy doing some stuff right now, but I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Just having somebody to do that would bring you peace of mind. I know for me, like, one of the biggest things an assistant does is just bringing peace of mind, knowing that your inbox is taken care of, like removing the things that you used to worry about. And then we moved from relationships to recreation. So a lot of people don't take advantage of this. I definitely do. Jesse can tell you, like, I have her help me schedule golf outings and things like that. And it's nice to say, hey, can you get in touch with Sarah and Dan and like schedule a golf outing for Friday, or whatever it is. And then she takes care of all of that stuff. She puts it on my calendar, pays for it. And then all I do is just show up. So recreationally, what can they help you with? They can save you money by finding discounts. They can help you with refunds and returns. This is a big one. My assistant, a couple of months ago, I had a dormant subscription for Asana that I was paying for like 6 months. And I had them simply email customer support and say, hey, can I get a refund on that? And they made me like, a couple $100, right? As an example. I also have had them do this last year, like when COVID started. I said, I'm paying for 10 different subscriptions for all these business services. And I had them send out a template to them. And I said, hey, like, we're in the middle of COVID. Businesses has been, obviously everybody's business is impacted by this. Like, is there any discount that you can provide on your services? Because SaaS companies like Asana, like Monday.com, all this stuff, it's so profit heavy. And I was having my assistant essentially help to negotiate a better deal on the services. And she was able to save us hundreds of dollars a month on the stuff that we pay for, just by sending an email out that I probably wouldn't have taken the time to do. So that kind of stuff. Returns. So if you got Amazon packages, just helping deal with that, having UPS come pick it up, all that stuff, package management, never having to deal with customer service again. So if you give your assistant a system or a process they can follow for dealing with customer service, that kind of stuff, finding and booking flights, travel itineraries. And then when you move into business, and I'll get through this pretty quickly so we have time for Q&A, but organization of your files, folders, email, life in general, extracting and managing data from different tools. So if there's something that you envision that you want to do with this data that you have, like how many people fall off of your program after 3 weeks, like pulling that data from Stripe or from your payment processor or whatever it is, just helping for you to make more educated decisions. They can help you with that. Booking meetings, creating briefings for the people you're going to be meeting with, presentations, researching topics, making sure that you never miss important emails, expense tracking, invoice bill management, building internal systems, processes, protocols, stuff like that. Like I know Camille has helped people with that in the past. Just coordinating with other team members, having someone there, like your executive assistant, to be a gatekeeper of your time. So one of the things that I have talked with clients about, like we talk in the very beginning, like, how do you want to use your time? Do you want to have Monday and Friday off? Well, if so, how can your assistant help to make sure that your calendar is adhered to according to those preferences? So people can only meet with you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then your time is left open for Monday and Friday to do deep thinking or to build your business or to work on a big project or to spend time with your kids, whatever it is. So this is like some of the, like, when I talk about like gold, like this is gold. This is the kind of stuff that, like, the refunds, the returns, all that stuff is cool. But once you start having somebody be the gatekeeper of your time, and they can effectively start like by just doing some simple things with just working with other people to schedule them at certain times, that's when it starts to get really fun. And there's a lot of value there. Note taking, action item taking. So having them hop on meetings and take notes with clients that you're meeting with and have them write down high level points and then sending that to your clients afterward, that kind of stuff. Helping hire contractors. So those are some of the things that people can help you with. Now, how do you choose this person? First, like I said in the beginning, you want to understand what you're great at and what you're not great at. We have a whole onboarding process. It's like 90 minutes long where we go through all of that stuff. We document it. And by the time your assistant starts working with you, they know who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And obviously we chose your assistant based on that criteria. So you want to figure out how you can test someone else for something that you're bad at, right? So if you're bad at, like, if you're not great at, like I said, the email management thing earlier, like if you were to create a couple of email templates, or even email me, maybe I've got something for you that I can help you with, but a couple of email templates that can show someone's competency with email management, that would be a great way to test someone and just see, do you like the result? Practically, so how do you practically go find someone and make this happen? Obviously, you can work with companies like ours. I personally, and I say this with humility, I personally believe that there are not companies out there that do things the way that we do. There are going to be other agencies out there that go and like recruit people and all this stuff, but you're going to deal with attrition. You're going to deal with some of the same problems you dealt with before. It just ends up costing more money. I am not in this business to have bad relationships with people and to have to like constantly feel like stressed out because things aren't working. Like, we built this so that we have a recipe that works, and we work with people that we like to work with, and it's fun for everybody involved. So you can go that route. You can also go and check places like onlinejobs.ph. You can go to, and you guys, I'm sure we can add some notes afterward with these resources, but you can check onlinejobs.ph. You can go to Hubstaff Talent. That's one place. You can look for like online groups on Reddit and things like that, where these people are located. You can check certain Facebook groups, and you can try to find people that way and post ads. The cool thing that we have been able to do over the last few years is most of our staff comes through referrals. And so that's like good people referring other really good people that maybe aren't even looking for jobs, or maybe they're not on some of the hiring sites. You can definitely hire executive assistants through some of the platforms that I mentioned earlier. You just want to make sure that you test them properly, that you set proper expectations. I mean, and I'll get into some of this in just a second. But what's something else that I've learned when you're hiring people? Obviously, I mentioned this earlier about what Camille and I have talked about. People do what they love. Like, people are really good at what they love to do. And so sometimes when you're hiring people, when you're interviewing them, their initial answers aren't totally accurate. So someone may say, oh, like, I really love, you say like, oh, what are you good at? And they're like, well, I'm good at this, this, and this, and this. Okay, well, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to love to do that for you. And so you want to like dig deep and really understand, what does that person love to do? What have past people in their life mentioned that they were really, really good at, and try to get them to explain some of that stuff so you can see how they might be with you. Otherwise, you can end up with someone who's doing something for you for 3 or 4 months because they have a financial need, and they don't actually love what they're doing, and then they end up leaving, and then you're left having trained someone, and you're kind of screwed, right? So those are some of the things that I've learned. As far as the role goes, you want to make sure that the role is very well defined. No one person's going to be able to do everything for you. So you want to make sure that you outline ahead of time, like, what is this role going to look like? What specific responsibilities and tasks are they going to be responsible for? And we have a process for kind of identifying that. And what to expect when you're hiring someone. There's going to be plenty of people that will just be duds. They're going to, like, no call, no show. Even in our hiring process, we go through at least 100 people before we select 1 or 2. And so you will have people, like, we have people every week that don't show up to their scheduled interviews. We have people that are duds, and they aren't, somehow they got through our tests and they didn't, so like stuff like that will happen. Make sure you have time to interview. 15 to 30 minutes for each person. And so, yeah, that's kind of like those are some of the hiring best practices that I can mention to you guys. And then I'll say on the systems side, so like, how do you actually work with someone once you hire them? You have to have some type of project management tool that they're using, whether that's like Monday.com, Asana, something that's collaborative where you can both see what's being worked on, in what priority. We use a prioritization structure. So with my assistant, we'll have priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. And what that means is everything that's in priority 1, that's what gets worked on that day before anything else. And prioritization is super important when you're working with an assistant. That's something to keep in mind. And yeah, the last thing I have here on my list is just is communication. So making sure that you're that you're someone who demonstrates feedback and gratitude, and you really get to know your person and stuff like that. Like that's what makes for a lasting relationship. I don't give group talks like this all the time, so I may have skipped around, and I'm sorry for that. I'd hope that I was able to give you some information. What else do you guys want to know? I'm open to answering anything.
I appreciate you doing this, Ryan, because I know it's hard. What we're telling people, that's why we have a VA matching service for people like you to help us and to help the people that are just starting out. And I went through a lot of people before I found you and Camille, so I know how difficult it is. I know we're coming up on the hour, and you guys probably only put away an hour. So if anyone has any questions, if you can add them in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, you can. I'll scroll through. I know most people's cameras are off.
I'm also going to post my email here if you guys want to, if any of you have any questions, obviously, you can email me anything. If you want to know any particular tactics or strategies or whatever, like we will help any way that we can. And yeah, I want to, encourage you guys to take a look at this, because like I said, of all of the work that I have done, all the systems that I've created, the teams that I've worked, like having an assistant or having someone to help support you with the stuff to free up your time has been the biggest needle mover of anything that I've ever done. And that's why we're so excited about this, because it's like a little hidden secret. So yeah, does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have anything that has come up?
I'm not seeing anything. I just want to remind people that are already members of us, you can actually go into your member portal, and we have the VA matching service link. Try to find that link. Ugh. I signed in wrong, so I can't even get into my own portal. So, so you can go there and get it. For those of you that are not members, I'm trying to find a link for you so I can put it in the chat. Or you can actually email me or Ryan directly. And so what do and don'ts to VA from the Philippines and India? I don't know that question.
What do and don'ts? Okay, I'm just going to make assumptions here. What do and don'ts do VA from the Philippines and India? Maybe like what are some do's and don'ts for working with someone from there? The thing is, there's always been the stigma that people from over in different parts of the world are different than you and I. Now, there are cultural differences for sure. There's like, as an example, when you're working with someone from the Philippines, and any of my team can attest to this, a lot of times there's a Filipino culture of not necessarily being forthcoming with certain information as it relates to, oh, I see what you're saying. If just starting how many hours a week? Yeah, but there's a certain culture with people from the Philippines that, like, maybe they want to be kind, they want to be nice, they don't want to give feedback or whatever, and like that's something that we try to hire for. It's like we want people who are willing to give feedback, who don't let that cultural standard hold them back from a good relationship. So you'll come across things that do make people different, like culturally, but as far as like do's and don'ts, treat them just like you would treat me or Camille or anybody on your team, because they are people with families and dogs and children and vacations, just like all of us. And that was a huge learning lesson for me. Before I lived in the Philippines, I didn't realize that like we're all the same. We all have the same wants and needs and desires and passions and stuff like that. And we want to feel valued. We want to feel worthy, all that stuff. You said, if just starting, how many hours a week? That totally depends. The way that so we offer different packages at different number of hours per week. I would say for most people starting out, like if you are a full-time CEO and like you've got you have your business and like that's what you're working on full-time, you don't have anything else. I would just take a look at like how many hours you spend doing the things that you don't want to do, right? If you notice that every day you have this big thing that you want to be doing, whether it be like vision work or like CEO stuff, and a lot of your time is being bogged down like responding to emails, setting appointments, stuff like that, then you need to take a look at how many hours a day you're doing that kind of stuff, and then add that up towards the end of the week. And I think for most people, it's like 15 to 20 hours. If you have a business doing 6 figures or more than that, of course, it's 15 to 20 hours. For some people, it's less than that. And it's hard to answer that question though without knowing exactly what you're looking for. Because a good executive assistant is going to be able to get things done that might take you several hours, like in a snap, because they're good at it. And then there's some things that just take time, like if it takes 2 hours for you, it may take them 2 hours too. So that's a hard question to answer.
It's also easy to feel like you may be thinking in your head, I need someone maybe 5 hours a week, but then you start to use one and you're like, whoa, how about this? Let me give you this, because it makes your life so much easier. It's easy to fill up the time.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that will start, they'll start at one level and then they'll end up like moving to full time very quickly, because we're all business owners here. You understand the principles of like ROI and like investing and stuff like that. And I have found that, again, like if you invest in this person with a little bit of your time, getting them up to speed, training them, and then they start to produce hours for you, time for you, you can't put a price on that. So a lot of people are willing to let more things go and find more opportunities in their business and hand those off to their executive assistant, because it's worth more than the cost. So yeah. What else? Does anybody else have any other questions?
Are there any other questions? Because I know we need to wrap up soon. So
we do. Camille, can I ask you a question real quick? I was gonna end with this. What do you think a good EA client relationship looks like? And I want to ask Anne and Jesse this too, just in a couple of words. What do you think a good relationship looks like?
Mm-hmm. One thing that's been sticking out from my years of being an EA is that values alignment, because that's what made like my relationship with Camille and previous clients like so great, because we have very our values are aligned and we have same thoughts and same goals. So that really helps a lot with making my job more efficient, and then taking load off of Camille's workload.
That's well said. That's well said. Jesse, what do you think? What do you think is most important in an EA client relationship?
Right, having an open communication where you're able to just say whatever, or even just like send funny emojis. Those are really fun.
Send fun emojis. I try to do a good job of that.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Last but not least.
Hi, I would just like to add to what Camille and Jesse said. I'm gonna feel pressure right now, but I think a great client and EA relationship would be if the EA is able to determine things that the client needs even before them realizing it. That's always been what I really want to tell everyone.
Yeah, I should have had Camille and Jesse and Anne give this speech, because ultimately, like I'm a business owner. My perspective is different, and these ladies are way better at this than I could ever explain. I've tried to just give you guys a taste of what it's like to have an executive assistant and what the impacts might be and stuff like that. But you just have to trust me. Like, it's awesome. It will save you a lot of time and a lot of money. And it's been one of the greatest things that I've chosen, over the last 5 to 10 years. It's like one of the greatest things that I've ever done. So that's it.
Thank you. Yeah. And I will say, when I think Camille and I are very aligned, and it's so nice when she said, how about I just try this and I'll show you some examples. And I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I love. And it just makes life so much easier. And then you start to trust them more, trust is a big thing. We didn't talk about trust, but
we didn't talk about trust. There's a lot I didn't talk about, but this is more than like a 60-minute.
Brian was all figuring out if I was going to trust somebody. I know it was.
It was. When I first met you, I was trying to figure out, like, I kept saying, like, hey, Camille, I'm noticing that maybe some things from your past have caused you to maybe not trust people like and I'm so glad that we made the decision to work together, and because like now you can trust, hopefully you don't have trust issues.
Well, and you trust the person as soon as they show me like it happens, then I put so much trust in them. But you have to kind
Yeah.
of be cautious in the beginning. But you're giving over your baby, but it helps you grow. And certainly in the last month or two that we've had Camille, we've certainly grown. So it's been very, very helpful. All right.
Awesome.
I want to thank you, Ryan, for your time today and for giving us the overview of an executive assistant. I feel it's really important. I dumped in the chat what we have a free VA matching system. It does not cost you anything. It just asks you kind of the questions, and we just forward that over. And if it looks like you're a good match for Ryan, we send you his personal link so you can get time on his calendar. And it's kind of easy. So
it's super easy. Yeah. And everything we do, by the way, is relatively affordable for sure. Like the whole goal is that we want to provide access to this thing to as many people as possible, so that we're not like a super expensive luxury service. We're like a reasonably priced, affordable service to be able to give people access to this. So, and thank you, Camille, for having me on. I try to do my best. I don't do this kind of thing all the time, but I'm much better with one-on-one type stuff. But if you guys want to meet and talk, if you have any questions about anything, there's obviously no obligation whatsoever. Like I'm just here to help as much as I can. And hopefully I can at least get you started on something on your own journey, even just going to go find someone or whatever. I'm happy to help with that.
Thank you.